You just gotta find it.
Almost 400 acts. Yeah. I was shocked.
Hey, Mr. Jesse, we doing? Ready? What's up?
Hey. Yeah. Thank you.
Look at her old Chinese.
I need to find out from Sean. You have 8. Those that are coming to school.
Oh, you're gonna have more than what you think coming back because, like you said today, if they don't have internet at their house, they don't have.
If they don't have internet or they don't have devices.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure I already talked to Damien, I already talked to Josh to explain that to y'all again. We explained it before, but I think maybe people didn't catch that. We don't like an hour computer
Where's
labs.
Melissa's doing it tonight.
Damien came in here tonight and I had asked, didn't I? Yeah, people who already Melissa's going on. You're nervous, you want to make sure you're protected. But like in our computer labs, like desktop computers, you can't sit at home.
No.
We don't really have.
Hey. How we doing today?
Yes. How are you, Mr. Robinson?
Hey, how's it doing today? Yeah, how's it?
Meeting will come to order. We'll start with the roll call of members.
Here. Here.
Next, we'll have the school board prayer, followed by the pledge of allegiance from Mr. John Beck. Lord, thank you for this opportunity to meet together this evening. Please help us to come together to make this business reflect your kingdom. Breathe life into our ideas and decisions, and help us to build a team that has love and respect at its heart. Lord, give us the inspiration to be the best we can be. May we be the shining example of your goodness and truth within the workplace. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Dugas, seconded by Mr. Washington. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, receive presentation from Senator Ed Price.
This time I'll ask Mr. Sean Preston to come forward to give the introduction of the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Of course, in these times, personal protection is very, very important to school systems. Over the last couple of weeks, we've had some generosity that's been given to our parish. With the help of our police jury, Ms. Ann Blanchard, Mr. John Boutro, we received from GOSEP, which stands for the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. This week is delivered from the National Guard 2,000 disposable masks, 3,200 cloth reusable masks, 30 thermometers that will be disseminated through the school system for students, faculty, and anyone of need. We've also received a phone call lately from a very, very nice gentleman who's here with us tonight that's going to make a presentation also about some PPE. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our District 2 Senator, Mr. Ed Price.
Thank you very much, and glad to be here tonight, Madam Superintendent and President. I come before you. It is tough time right now going through with COVID-19. We all know, but one of the things that we had lots of discussion about was whether or not the mask will help. And through all the things that we've heard from the doctors and the infectious disease doctors, that please wear your mask up and we down at the health department spread. We've been going through an uptick in this COVID, this virus, so we want to make sure that our students, as they go back to school, to make sure that they have the proper PPE. So tonight, I just want to come by. We have 4,000 cloth reusable masks. These are the washable ones that you can give to the students, the employees, so that they can be protected and also protect them from other people, as we know. So I just wanted to do that. This school system, I know that our kids here, our employees here want to be protected. So thank you very much for allowing me to come and to be able to do that. So I'm going to make that presentation tonight. I do have them out in the truck, and when I leave here, we can get them and you can have them to dispose as you please. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you so much for coming.
Appreciate it, brother.
So on behalf of Assumption Parish Schools, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts, Senator Price, for that very kind donation. With that donation, along with the information Mr. Preston presented from OEP, we will be able to give each student at least 2 cloth masks, washable masks. All of our students should have at least 2. And then our staff will get at least 1. And the teachers and paras working with the students will have the additional PPE of 8. So we are
taking extreme measures to make sure that our students and faculty is safe in Assumption Parish schools.
I would just like to again thank Mr. Ed Price. He has been a friend of education, has served on the serving on the Ascension Parish School Board, and this is just demonstrating his love for our district that he represents, but also doing what is in the best interest of our entire community. So thanks again for your generosity, and as we say in the political world, that shall never be forgotten. Best wish. Thank you.
Yeah. Again, thank you, Ed. I do appreciate everything you have made along the political limelight. And as Mr. Beck just alluded to, Ed started out at the local district just like we are. I think what it was 26 years in the state, if I'm not mistaken. And he also went on to become state representative, in which he was doing 3 parishes there. And after that, then he expanded his horizon when he moved on to the Louisiana State Assembly. So his responsibility went from like 3 parishes to 8 parishes. Good luck, man. God bless. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Indeed.
I want everybody to know that was my supervisor.
We got the whole other things to do. We know.
All right. Next on the agenda is received administrative personnel report.
The administrative personnel report updates is in your folder for your review. It includes our new hires, transfers, promotions, and resignations.
All right. Thank you. Next, review of Assumption Parish Schools Strong Start Plan for the 2021 school year.
At last.
Yes, we're ready to present our plan. I know you all have heard a lot about the detailed plans that were forthcoming. We had to submit our Strong Start reopening plan to the State Department on yesterday. We did make a successful submission on yesterday. And I just want to thank all of our staff, from central office administrators, principals, assistant principals, teachers, custodians, bus drivers, maintenance supervisor, child nutrition supervisor, whoever we called on to assist with these plans, they were there to assist us. It's a very detailed plan, over 30 pages in the plan. This was not something that was done overnight. This was not something that was done in a week. We started working on this plan since June 1st. We received the template around June 15th. And we were working on it up until Monday, up until yesterday. We even made some tweaks this morning after we submitted it. We want everyone to know that this plan will be a fluid document. Our child nutrition program supervisor just told me something this morning on her, this afternoon on her webinar today. She received something that changed just today that we did not know when we submitted this plan. So this plan will be a fluid document. We will update it as we get guidance from federal, state, and other local officials. We will let you know of the changes. I will try and go through it as quick and efficient as I can. Our staff that's out there, if I'm missing something and you would like to chime in on something that's important, please do not hesitate to stop me and do so. I want to reiterate that this was a collaborative team effort. This document is very detailed and it shows how much we care about reopening our schools in an efficient manner. It begins with a message from the superintendent, just reassuring people what are we doing and how we are going to reopen our schools. And then we thought it was important to explain to our community, our stakeholders, why it was important to have our students return to our schools. So you will see some bullets there that include why we feel like it's important to return to school. And then also at the bottom, you'll see the clause that lets you know that it's a living document and the plans will be fluid. Before I go any further, just to let you know, these plans were emailed out to all of our employees today. It was sent out to the board today also. It will be made available for public inspection on tomorrow morning. We just wanted our employees to get more familiar and be comfortable with it. So if the employees have questions, then they can be able to tell our story to our other stakeholders. So that's why we submitted it to the employees today, and it will be made available for public inspection on tomorrow. The second page of the importance of returning to school, our curriculum team developed the core curriculum areas and what curriculum we will be using from kindergarten, first and second grade, and then it combines third and fourth grade. Also shows what we'll be using in fifth through eighth grade, and then what also we'll be doing in ninth through 12th grade. So that shows our stakeholders, our communities, what we will be using in the four core areas when it comes to curriculum. The next page will outline our phases and calendars. That's no secret to you all as a board. We have already come before you to discuss the phases and how we're returning to school. The only difference is the transition period. The transition period of August 13th through Friday, August 21st will be a hybrid period for all students. I received the question today. So what happens if on August 15th, the governor says we go back to phase one? Those phases trump that transition period. The only way we're in a transition period is if we're currently remaining in phase two. The updated calendar is included in the plan. And you all will be approving that calendar a little later on the agenda. Our instructional models, the explanation of what is distance learning, what is hybrid model. I think everyone knows what is traditional in person. These are new terms for our families. Distance learning, hybrid, virtual. So just giving our families some explanation, some detailed explanation of what these terms mean. That's all included here for the instructional models. And then also, if your student is a student for the 9th through 12th grade, where they will continue to be on the hybrid plan through phase two, the hybrid AD calendar is included, so that way those families know on what days their students are to report to school. There's some very detailed information regarding our virtual academy that takes up the next 3 pages. Also, we will be giving the board a thorough update at next board meeting, August 5th, regarding the virtual academy, the updated virtual academy numbers. As you know, virtual academy submission was originally scheduled to end on July 20th. We extended that for a full week. We did take some more applications through. July 27th is now cut off. We're creating a waiting list now. But those numbers and the entire program will be presented to you all as a board at the August 5th meeting. Right now, we're getting our families to sign contracts and making sure that they will continue to be on the virtual, part of the virtual academy. So until those contracts are signed, we are reluctant to publish those numbers. The next 5 pages, the next 5 pages discuss safe schools, procedures, and protocols. It begins with telling our parents, our families, before you send your child to school, what you should do. You know, I've spoken to some families, some stakeholders, and I said, it's going to take a village to make this right. We're going to need the help of not just our teachers, not just our bus drivers. We're going to need the help of our parents. If you know your child wakes up with a temp, help us by checking your children's temp. And if the temperature is elevated, help us by not sending them to school and prohibit the spread. I saw your hand.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I need to ask one question before you move on. For the parents who are interested in going seeking virtual, when does the contract period end for them to sign up?
I think it's Friday.
The budget is not here tonight, but can someone correct me if I'm wrong? Is it Friday?
Tomorrow?
Thursday? Okay. I was told I would get the numbers on Friday, so it might be tomorrow. Okay.
Moving forward,
before sending your children to school, there are certain measures that we're asking parents to take heed to.
It also
talks about attendance. Louisiana laws and policies have not been released. The instructional minutes
have not been changed. The state is keeping those laws in place, so attendance will be required. We also had to have the state require certain things
in your policies,
in your returning to school guide. So we had to have a section to address how we're gonna handle visitors and volunteers.
So that is included.
Then we have our campus procedures to say what's gonna happen in common areas,
Classrooms, our hallways, our transitions,
what are our
meal times, what are the mass requirements,
what will happen
in physical education, what are our disinfecting measures. So, of course, it would take me about 2 hours to go through this entire plan,
but just wanted to point out what's all
in the plan and what areas we've addressed here
in our reopening guide. Over the last 3 months, you all have been hearing about our social emotional learning and our race and equity framework. So
we also had to include verbiage regarding social emotional learning.
You know, a lot of
We talked to you all about a lot of our kids will be battling
the social
emotional issues with getting out of school since March 13th. Separation anxiety, post-traumatic stress syndrome. We want to make sure
that we have a
framework to address those students' needs
as they
return to school.
Yes,
We know curriculum is important and it is number one.
But if a child is not told to learn, they will not
comprehend what you're trying to teach them. So we, our social emotional framework is included
in this document. We're very proud, very, very proud.
We are not a one-on-one district here in Assumption, but we're well on our way to be one.
And so we're very proud to communicate with all of our stakeholders
the technology plan. Mr. Josh and I have presented it to the board
on multiple occasions. I think before school began, we will bring them up one more time because I had a couple of questions regarding
our technology initiative.
But this gives our stakeholders an overview, our technology portion of the reopening plan
gives our stakeholders an overview and a timeline of what it's going to take and when we expect for the entire staff to be one-to-one.
The athletics
and activities phases come exactly from the CDC guidance. We did not change anything there.
Same thing.
Our nutrition program, exact guidance that we're getting from the federals. Same thing with transportation. Those are exact guidance that we're getting from the CDC.
The state was adamant
about us developing a communication plan. They wanted to know how we're going to communicate to our stakeholders.
And we recognize that all of our stakeholders do not have
connectivity to internet, to Wi-Fi. So what are we going to do to reach out to those parents
and families,
whether it's phone calls through our J Campus call-out system and just other avenues in which we do not, or those families do not have access to connectivity.
And then
the most pages were the frequently asked questions. As you know, we did a parent survey, we did an employee survey, and most of those frequently asked questions came from those surveys that we attempted to address here. On top of those surveys, we asked every principal in the district, send us an email. Let us know what questions you're being hit with the most.
And so that's where
the next couple of pages of the frequently asked questions come from. We try to be as detailed as we can. We ask for your patience and understanding throughout
us releasing this document.
Something may come up that, even though we had a team of about 20 people working on this,
something may come up that
the 20 individuals have not even thought of. We will address it when it comes up. We're committed to revising the plan at least once a week.
So if we
have any changes, some changes I got today, I said,
they're going to hold.
And on next Thursday when we revise, once we publish this on our website, we're going to highlight the revisions.
So do not feel like it's
burdensome or bothersome to call us about anything in the plan.
We want to discuss
it. We want to make it right. We all understand that these are uncharted waters. That's not a book that any of us can go to and say, this is the definition of how to fix this.
But I think
we're all in, right? So if we all work together, we're going to make sure that we have the most efficient plan in Assumption Parish.
So the bus drivers are responsible for sanitizing after each group use?
For their bus.
Yes, and they are already part of their pre and post check. It should be clean. It's just another category cleaning.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Randall. Next on the agenda, on my place, approve revised student calendar.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Lewis,
Second.
second by Mr. Robertson. All in favor? Any opposed? Next, receive information on revisions to school start times.
So,
In discussing
in our principals meetings, there may be longer transport times. There may be issues with having to
get kids to school at certain
times. We asked the principals, Mr. Preston surveyed the principals and asked them what start and end times would work best for your locations. We hemmed and hawed over those start times for at least 2 or 3 weeks before we make the decision.
And
Looking back, we had Melissa check and look back in prior minutes whenever we changed the school times. This is not something that the board approved. This is something that administration always did. But I felt that it was important that the board knew of the start times.
Most start times
are staying the same. I know Libertyville
primary
school
is changing to be 15 minutes earlier. Am I correct,
Mr. Preston?
15 minutes earlier. And was that the only
change?
I don't have my old
copy. I only have the revised copy.
Most of the middle schools are trained also to 15 minutes earlier. This is 15 minutes earlier. If you go back and do some history, pretty much almost a third of the actual training schedule that we had throughout that superintendent. So it's pretty much a first back. And what we noticed was, even though we were nice and uniformly last year or last 2 years, all transportation issues, we didn't have enough time between schools is listening, taking in to get kids to school on time, or to make teachers didn't have to stay at school for a long period of time. So that's why the thing made. So before we did anything, we did survey all that information.
Right.
Take their thoughts.
So that's just
an informational item. As Mr. Preston said, all of the administrators approved these times prior to us giving you this as information.
Are we gonna have to have additional routes for the high school? Are we gonna have to have additional routes for the high school?
At this time, we do not believe that we're going to need additional routes because of the ADD at the high school. But of course, once again, a lot of things are going to come into that factor. The number of kids that are going to decide to maybe be car riders, the number of kids that are going to have virtual platform. So a lot of we did send out some surveys to get a little bit of information, but a lot of those answers like that won't be able to be answered completely until school starts. But right now, we think that any school would not have added in high school because of the schedule.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda, approved job description revision, associate assistant principal.
I had put this on your newsletter previously, and I'll have our HR director, Mr. Claymont, explain the reason why we're changing only the title.
Good evening. As normal, we always like to keep you informed when change happens, especially in job descriptions. Last time we opened up this position, it was previously, the title was an administrative assistant. We actually kind of acquired that name from some other districts. So while opening this position, the last 2 times we've done it, we've had multiple people apply for it, especially this time. We've had 6 applicants apply thinking it was a secretarial job. Because all they do is look at the name, because in the outside world, administrative assistant is a secretarial job. So on a discussion, again, it was a collaborative discussion with myself, Mr. Randall, some of the other directors. We thought it was in the best interest to really kind of describe what the job is. We did not change anything inside the job description except for the title of the job description. So what we're going to call them, what they truly are, which is an assistant principal at 180 days, where they're an associate assistant principal, because they really do not have active duties. They're only built in from the time. So what our request is right now is to allow us to rechange the name. And I think Ms. Rayner notified y'all during the week that possibility was to happen in this round, opening up the job descriptions.
Mr. Clement, when it was first advertised, was when you advertise for any position, I would think it would be proper protocol to have a job description as to what they're applying for. So when it was first advertised as administrative assistant, did they have a job description that was?
Yes, there's always qualifications that are under that, but unfortunately, as we know, today's world, they're reading really fast. You skip over the qualifications, and then unfortunately, I have to contact people that probably live in our area. Say, sorry, you're not qualified to apply for the position, and I just thought that kind of put a bad taste in some people's mouth, and I really was trying to stop that confusion of me having or anyone from the office contacting an individual that lives inside our parish or outside our parish have to explain just the confusion. So really, this is just a preventative measure to stop that confusion from a person just looking at the title, really not reading thoroughly like they should. But again, qualifications for this job, same as every other job with administration, they must have an FE1, or at least the eligibility for an FE1 level to get this.
The salary is the same as the teaching salary.
182 days.
No stipends, anything like that.
Not for this position, no sir.
Well, obviously in every situation there's an opportunity, and hopefully in the future we can avoid that confusion by picking a better name in the beginning, I guess. But overall, I think the bottom line is that the name change is only for the betterment of getting a better food.
Correct.
So
it's no different than the last changes we made with no names. We realized that it's really complex. We narrowed those things down. Again, a part of what we do, decide to send to office, evaluate it, and if it needs to be changed, we come forward to y'all, make sure it's completely transparent, and change it. So that's what we're doing.
good deal. Thank you.
I need a motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Orko, second by Mr. Beck. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, receive information on policy EBBI, COVID-19 public health emergency.
Again, as I said in the past couple meetings, Port Authority is sending out policies as fast and furious as we can catch them. The problem is there's so many regulations that our concern from the district is we're really not policymakers. So first of all, I want to start off by thanking Mr. Hammond and his team. They really are fantastic with educational law. When we do send something out, we usually get it back in definitely a timely manner, and they adjust it to protect the district. So first of all, I want to thank you. But this policy was designed for making sure that school boards in compliance with the regulations set by DESI and other things. So if you scan through it, it actually breaks down several different components. So since we actually have him here today, I've asked him to kind of speak on it to kind of fill y'all in with the gaps. It does actually address several different areas.
Thank you, Mr. Claymore. Thank you for those kind words. Let me just explain very briefly. In the 2020 regular session legislature, there were 3 acts of legislature of interest. Pass it over there.
Yes, please.
I keep looking for my good side, but I haven't found it yet. There were 3 acts in the legislature in the regular session, and then there was 1 act in the ordinary session. And all of them had virtually identical language. I even asked the senator a little earlier why that was the case, and he said, well, we wanted to make sure that everybody understood. So the language basically reads that a political subdivision of the state shall not be liable for any civil damages for injury or death resulting from or related to alleged or actual exposure to COVID-19, unless the political subdivision fails to substantially comply with the applicable COVID-19 procedures established by the federal, state, or local agency which governs the business operation of that entity. But for you guys, that's necessary. And on July 14, the Bessie Board promulgated certain regulations dealing with COVID issues on return to school. In order to get the immunities that are called for in these 4 acts of legislation, you have to come up with a policy that is consistent with the Bessie policy that was approved on July the 14th. Now, that policy can be written in 100 different ways, but I spent a considerable amount of time going through drafts from forethought, drafts from other entities, guidance from LSBA. I looked at information provided by other knowledgeable attorneys around the state, and I put together my own draft. And so what you have before you is a draft that our office prepared. We think it is completely consistent with the Bessie regulations, and we think that it is specific enough to get you the immunity protections that these acts call for. So unless you have some questions, I would just simply recommend the adoption of that particular policy. I am happy to answer any questions that you might have. There is one thing that's somewhat controversial, and I don't want to hide it here. In this particular policy, it makes specific reference to heavy masks, face coverings, and it does require that students and employees wear their face coverings and that they maintain their social distancing. The policy goes on to provide that the face coverings are actually part of the dress code for students, and so therefore they would be expected to wear that just as much as they would be expected to wear their uniform at school. And so that was put in there intentionally. The other thing that was put in there intentionally was the fact that the face coverings to be included are to be solid color and not to have any writing or messages or pictures or anything else in order to avoid any potential First Amendment concerns. You know, I don't want to have show up the first day of school with children wearing masks with Confederate flags or other symbols that could cause problems in schools. So you can't say that we're going to allow some, but we're not going to allow others. You either have to say you're going to allow them all or you're not going to allow any. And so this particular policy does not allow any, with one exception, and that is that if a mask is provided by the board or is provided by the school, and reference the school system, for example, your insignia, if you have an insignia, or school insignia, or that is acceptable as well if it is provided by the school. So that's the only exception to the rule. A solid mask is going to be required, and that is consistent again with the Bessie regulations.
Any discussion?
I so move that we accept it.
This is an information item, so we'll adopt it next week. Is that correct?
Yes, the 5th.
On the 5th, at the meeting on the 5th. Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Next on the agenda, amend teacher dress code policy to allow teachers and support staff to wear appropriate fitting scrubs for the duration of this pandemic. I need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Urso, second by Ms. Dugas. All in favor? Any opposed? The motion passes. Next on the agenda is the selection of superintendent finalists or discussion and/or action of next steps in superintendent selection process. I have a comment card from Ms. Michelle Lewis. She would like to speak. Ms. Lewis, you have 5 minutes if you want to come up to the. They won't hear you in Tiger Lane.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Michelle Lewis. I am a school teacher. I have a master's in education, leader doctoral in educational leadership. I was a teacher in this parish for 8 years. Lived in this parish for 10. Paid taxes all 10. Anyway, so I approach you tonight because you have 4 candidates before you. And I know that our tendency as a parish, before we know full well, anyone who's lived in this parish, that even with the leadership that we currently have, and I'm not here to discredit or burn anyone in the process, but that we know that there's so much more that we can be doing in comparison our districts around us as compared to the Parish and Extension. And we say that we don't have enough funds, and we say that we don't have the resources. I created a foundation with Mr. Honore. We had over 25 members, a part of it from the police jury to government. And within that scope and time frame, there are many times that I came to the school board office. At one point, after I'd gotten a robotics person, leader at Vex Robotics to come and Texas, I sat in my car at 7:30 in the morning, had to be at work my own pocket what gifts. Went to the school board office to bring it. Was told by a school board personnel that I had no right to even walk to Ms. Melissa's office to drop off that gift for work. Wasn't able to even attend some of those meetings, and I understand it conflicted with my school schedule. And I say all that again, not to burn bridges. Without my heart, I would have told you story long and loud and proud long ago. But I say all that to say that there's so much politics in play in our school system. There's so much back and forth. I had to have a lid on my trash can in Bell Road, the rats outside, and not because Miss Angela, when she was the principal, didn't try her hardest to make it better. I don't know another woman who works as hard as she did, as long as she did, with a heart that she did. But I say all that to say, is whoever you choose, and I say all this knowing the gravity of what I'm asking you, because during COVID, we want to go with what's familiar, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I ask that you hire someone who is a bridge builder. During my time with Mr. Onaway, we partnered with Dow. I wrote letters. I wrote letters to Governor John Bel Edwards. I still received a teacher and was even told by leadership in this parish, who are you? People stopped talking to me. People stopped addressing me when I would walk by. I got so much pushback. On the day that my mother-in-law died, I went to the police jury and begged them to partner Stacey on with economic development. When I tell you my heart is here, I have no business working in another parish because my heart has never left me. Because I believe that our kids deserve the very best. Despite our resources, just like we partnered with Ed Price earlier, we should be partnering with people outside of ourselves. If we don't have economic development to support our tax bases, to have a one-to-one, which truthfully told we should have had 10 years ago. And I'm not saying that our leadership isn't doing everything that they possibly can, but I'm saying that we need to elevate policies and think differently, who are innovative, who are courageous. We need to partner with anyone and everyone. And we need a superintendent who has that vision from a pre-K to a 12th grader. So that our 12th graders are leaving with AP credit and industry credits. Now, when we have that A, and we brag on that A in our high schools, that we know that that strength of diploma category, 25% that A, that we know that every kid is walking with scholarships in their hand, and that they are walking either with an industry certification. And again, that's partnering with Nichols and Fletcher and expounding on what we do. And so I ask you that when you look at those resumes, please don't look at a job title and how someone has progressed 7 ranks. Please look at what they have actually done to build bridges in an innovative way, because that's what assumption means. And I thank you for your time. I don't come in with arrogance. I come humbly as just a mom who loves all these kids. I was not by any stroke or any means a perfect person. My husband and I were youth Baptists for 8 years. Anybody knows me? I'm generally late. I talk a lot. See, I'm a person full of mistakes. I own that. But all that I ask of you is that you choose someone who's going to do right, not familiar. And that's okay if you choose someone familiar, but we hold their cheek. And we make assumptions. These kids have every opportunity to send the ascension. And as a boost, and dare I say in Texas, in New York City.
Ms. Lewis, I hate to interrupt, but that's your 5 minutes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. We're still on F. Selection of superintendent finalists or discussion and or action of next steps in superintendent selection process.
Madam President, did you receive a waiver from the full candidates waiving their right to executive session? If we
Yes,
decide to go
yes,
into
we did.
We received from every candidate, yes.
I so move that we move to executive session at this time.
I second that.
I have a motion by Mr. Honore, second by Ms. Dugas. All in favor of moving into executive session?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Executive session is in the same area as yesterday. Y'all don't need me to. You just text if you need a candidate. You just text me if you need a candidate. Same area as yesterday.
Same place?
Yes.
Same area.
Yesterday.
Byron? Jack?
Thank you, St. John. Okay.
He's not voting for Sharon.
That's before.
Mhm.
Okay, and the other fathers can vote.
Mhm.
The other ones. Oh, ethics. These are your ballots I used to vote. The ballots that we used to vote. These are the ballots y'all will use to vote.
Okay.
These are your ballots you'll use to vote. These are the ballots you'll use to vote.
Your ballot. All right, when you have ballots that will be used, if you use a ballot, it must be an 8. I think everyone has to on their ballot. So please make sure when you're completing the ballot.
The meeting will come back into order. The board has decided that we will vote on the top 2 candidates to be
Actually, Madam President, you need to make a
Motion.
You need to move to return to open
Okay,
session.
I need a motion to return to regular
So
session.
move. Second.
Moved by Ms. Dugas, second by Mr. Washington, all in favor.
Aye.
And then the second decision that you need to make tonight is to whether to select your superintendent or to go back out for a second round of interviews. And I think you need to have a motion on that issue so that that's reflected in the minutes.
Okay.
Move to go to second round.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Beck, second by Ms. Dugas. All in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And then the third question would be, since you're going out for the second round, how many finalists would you like to name tonight? Can be anything from 1 to 4. But I think that needs to be decided as well.
I'd like to make a motion that we narrow it down to 2.
We have a motion to narrow it down to 2.
Second.
Second by Mr. Robertson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And then the next decision is the selection of those 2 individuals. Ms. Randall has been asked to pass out to each of you a ballot, list the names of the 4 individuals who you interviewed last night. And you need to select 2 finalists, the 2 that you would like to see interviewed again. Those two individuals, whoever received the most votes, will be interviewed on August the 4th with the plan of the board at this time to make the final selection at its meeting on August 5th. So with regard to those, let's check off, I don't know what you have down there, indicate the 2 that you would like to see interviewed and make sure that you sign your name to the bottom. And then just make sure we need to pass those down to the board president so that she can read those out loud.
Are you going to keep a tally? She's going to do it.
You ready?
I can pick them up.
Operator 2?
Huh? No, not the tiebreaker.
You don't do nothing with the tiebreaker.
Not the tiebreaker, y'all. Tiebreaker.
No, keep the tiebreaker.
Tiebreaker.
In the event that there is a tie, then we'll establish the rules for breaking the tie.
5. Nine. I have 9 ballots. If Miss Melissa, you have it. Mr. Bartholomew, and Dr. Stidalis.
Madam President,
So
you got to say the name.
Oh, this is Mr. Robertson.
you need to ask him if those are in fact who his votes are, just to confirm for the record.
Mr. Robinson, have you checked as Mr. Bartholomew and Dr. Stidalis?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis, Mr. Bartholomew, and Dr. Stidalis. Mr. Meyer, Mr. Claymore, and Dr. Stidalis.
Yes.
Ms. Nickens, Mr. Bartholomew, and Dr. Stidalis.
Yes.
Ms. Orso, Mr. Claymore, and Dr. Stidalis. Ms. Dugas, Mr. Claymore, and Dr. Stidalis. Mr. Beck, Mr. Bartholomew, and Dr. Stidalis. Mr. Beck, is that correct? Mr. Washington, Mr. Bartholomew, and Dr. Stidalis.
Correct.
And my own, Ms. Barris, Mr. Bartholomew, and Dr. Stidalis.
Madam President, the vote is two most highest vote getters are Dr. Stidalis, Mr. Bartholomew. They would be the two who would be selected to be the two finalists for the interviews to be conducted next Tuesday. The only other thing that I can think of that you may want to talk about briefly tonight is going to be how you want those interviews conducted. First round, each board member came with a question and you gave a brief opening and brief closing and your own questions. You may want to do it a little bit differently this go around. And so I would think for purposes of the record, you may want to have some brief discussion as to how you see the interviews taking place next Tuesday. It also would be beneficial for the applicants to know the type of interview that they would be facing so that they can be prepared for it.
Okay, the floor is open.
Madam President, I would suggest that we follow the format that we did in the opening round of the interviews. If we opt to maybe, I think give them 5 minutes to get at the beginning. I don't see no reason why we can't go more than that since it's narrowed down to 2 minutes. I won't be opposed to giving them 10 minutes, but that's up to the board to decide.
Okay. Any other input?
I agree.
So how many questions will we have?
Same thing. A question field from each board member.
A question from each board member? Anybody have any other?
I thought we would just do one question and allow them to give a claim on that question.
Okay.
And allow them to talk for 10.
One question.
One question.
On a certain question where they have a plan for that question.
So one specific question that we would come to a
maybe two.
consensus.
Yeah. Yeah,
Or maybe
that's
two.
what we had discussed.
Maybe two.
Two questions.
And give them candidates the opportunity to know the question so they can.
And give the candidates the opportunity to know the question so they can prepare.
Right. I think 2 questions is sufficient.
Okay, 2 questions and the candidates would know in enough time to prepare for the,
Just so, are you going to do 2 questions at the beginning and then the board members ask theirs, or the board members won't have any questions?
No.
No, we won't have
Just the
any.
2.
Okay.
We are setting us 2 questions.
we'll do 2 questions. We'll send it out.
What we will need to know is the specific nature of the questions, as the next step in the process is going to be a letter that's going to go out to finalists, congratulating them on being selected as the finalists, and also notifying them of the possibility of an executive session, which you're required to do about 24 hours in advance in writing. And thirdly, to tell them the format for the next interview. So we would need to know by the time we send those letters out, what those 2 question areas should be, so that we put that in the same letter to them.
I think that will be next Tuesday. Like that, can we opt to email those letters rather than?
Yes.
And your office will draft those, or?
I will do the letter, I just don't know the substance of the 2 questions. Somebody will have to, fill in the blanks for me as far as content of the 2 questions involved. But other than that, the rest of the letter I can get out in very short order.
Maybe Ms. Tanya and Ms. Barrett could get together and maybe come up with the 2 questions. Have we decided what?
That's fine. That's fine. And we can send it out to the board members and let them know before we send it to the candidates.
Because we all agreed on 1 question for sure.
Yeah, we did. We did.
And
So we already have
one. I do think, Madam President, I'm probably going to put in the letter that these are the 2 primary questions that you're going to be asked. However, the board reserves the right to ask any additional questions that any board member might have, just so that they'll know that you do have the opportunity to ask other questions than those 2. Or you have the right to ask follow-up. They may take 15 minutes to answer a complicated question. You may have a follow-up question to their comments you would like to ask. So we'll make it clear in the letter that that's what the format will be.
Okay. And time limit on the question, on the are we going to set a time on the each candidate? Or until let them answer?
We got to put
We're talking about 2 questions. You got to give them at least 10 minutes.
you got.
I would say at least 15 minutes. You say not to exceed. Hopefully you can provide this information. But you don't have a stopwatch going, so if they go a minute or 2 over, I don't think that's going to be that big.
Right.
I know your interview yesterday went much shorter than we had anticipated in many instances.
Correct. All right. So do I need a motion, or I need a motion to accept the process?
So move that, go ahead, Jenna.
Are you all allowed closing?
There would be a closing, right?
Or how long do you have?
Oh, yeah, the procedure would be, that they would be asked these questions initially, that they would be asked any follow-up questions, that the board had the opportunity to go into executive session to ask additional questions of more confidential nature. And if necessary, they would be given an opportunity to make a closing statement. That'll all be in the letter.
Right.
Okay. I have a motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Dodd.
No, by Ms.
Ms. Urso.
Second.
Second by Mr. Washington. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I think that concludes our meeting for tonight. I need a motion to adjourn if there's no further business.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Meyer. Second by Mr. Washington. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, you can play that. The tiebreaker, can be the trash.